All right, you guys still with me? I told you I had a lot in here, but I'm almost done. I know I didn't show this room, I think, last year. I forget why, maybe I just forgot to do it, but this is down in a spare room I have. It's got a couple of old cases that I use to fill statues I have here. This is my Cosmic case. Up here I've got basically Silver Surfer along with the Galactus and Gladiator from X-Men, and then down here I've got Black Bolt and Medusa and Doom, just because I have nowhere else to put him, so I snuck him in there. But in this case here, this is the Bushy Collector Silver Surfer piece, which is the definitive Silver Surfer piece for me. I don't need another one that I had painted by John Allred. And I'm not a big fan of the chrome effect, so I told John I didn't want that. I wanted just a silver paint, kind of that matte finish to it on the board, which I think really shows off the sculpt better, the detailing. And then you get this cosmic wave that John just went nuts on it, because he's got like little stars in there. You can see in different colors of blues and purples. But I guess the one nitpick I'll say on this is that it's supposed to be quarter scale, and maybe it is true quarter scale, but it doesn't fit with any other quarter scale statue. It's quite a bit bigger. Which, and those of you know that I'm a big fan of scales matching. A la the X-Men Mystique, XM Mystique fiasco. That bitch was like almost 1/3 scale. That's how big she was, and I couldn't display her with any other X-Men statues, so I got rid of her. But this guy I don't really display with any other cosmic figures, so I actually don't mind it for him. And I got Galactus here. This is the Life's Legendary Scale bust from Sideshow, which actually looks kind of cool. There's different angles you can kind of get his head in there with Galactus Silver Surfer in the background. But then you get the little version of Silver Surfer that came with the exclusive version of the bust. Nice nameplate. And over here is custom Gladiator statue that I had John paint for me. And I love this. This guy is badass. I love this smirk. And he really did a nice job on the paint, as he normally does. I wanted a classic version. I've seen a version where he's like in a black suit too, and that came out pretty cool, but I'm not sure what that's from. I was stopped reading comics, I guess, or I'm not aware of it. But anyways, I like this, and I like having all three of them in here. They take up the whole top shelf there. And then down below here, you can see this is one of the Sideshow grails. This is Dr. Doom. You can see me in the background of the mirror as well. There is a lot of detailing on this piece too. I think I said earlier that I thought there was more detail on the Magneto, and I just like the Magneto one better. Can't tell you why. I think maybe because of the fabric on this takes away from it a little bit. And the fact that his feet are hovering technically. I don't know if you can see. There's like a little small gap between his feet and the bottom. But it's the exclusive version. There's the chalice. Right, Santino? That's all I'll say about that. And here's Black Bolt from XM Studios. Love the pose on this guy. Screaming with his power. It's coming out there. He can be displayed on the back of this, but again, it wouldn't fit in the case, so I have him on this lower piece here. And over here, I've got his wife, Medusa, who's holding his scepter, his staff. And Lockjaw back there too, who came with Medusa. Nice version, and not exactly probably the quintessential version of Medusa, but pairs well with Black Bolt. All right, over here, X-Men, Rogue, my favorite female X-Men, X-Woman, I guess. And Sideshow knocked us out of the park. That 80s head sculpt kicks ass. Jim Lee style, big hair for the win. The pose on this is dynamic. I love the way that they did this. I haven't ordered the Gambit yet, but I will be getting the Sideshow version of the Gambit that goes with this. I saw that in person. That looks really good. I've got the XM version of Gambit also on order, which I'm looking to sell to someone. So if you're interested, let me know, and I can transfer my order to you. I'll give you a good deal for it too. And back there is I got her first appearance, which is in the Avengers Annual number 10. It's 9.4. And here's Wolverine, the Sideshow version. This is exclusive, but I've got him with the masthead on. The pose, the texturing, just awesome. I love how he pairs well with the Rogue in terms of like the yellow colors. Sorry guys, I'm getting some light from the windows out back there, but hopefully you can see most of the details. And then there's his first appearance in Hulk 181. I got back there. And then these two pieces are XM, X-Men, but they go good. I mean, it's like you can mix and match companies when you're displaying X-Men nowadays, at least in my opinion. Is the Dark Phoenix. Badass. I like this. This was so much better than the Green Phoenix version that X-Men came out with a couple years ago. And part of it is just, again, the technology is just getting better. The engineering in these statues is more robust, and they can make better effects. I think the translucent effect was nice, but I actually prefer this painted version. I think it looks better. And then over here we have Storm from XM Studios, which is nice statue displaying her powers in the tornado. I had the lightning effect, crackling lightning in there. It doesn't come with it, but thought it kind of worked well. And back there I've got Storm's first appearance in X-Men, giant size X-Men number 1 back there. And then down below here, we've got Psylocke in her X-Force uniform with the sexier head sculpt. I was lucky enough to be online when Sideshow put this up for order. And I think the edition size was 150 and it sold out in less than a day. Because the original version was in her X-Men uniform. But it came with 2 different head sculpts that look like a freaking alien. I don't know what Sideshow was thinking. This was the original head sculpt that they had chosen, and then they made a switch at one of the cons, and I think people generally prefer this head sculpt because this is why she sold out as quickly as she did. And I was like I said, lucky enough to get her. I won't be removing this one from my collection anytime soon. Very sexy version of Psylocke. And over here is Ghost Rider from XM Studios. A massive piece, as you can see. Let me back up. You can see that. Love the piece. It's just, as you can see, it doesn't really fit my collection. I'm a Ghost Rider fan, but not huge. So I may end up selling this guy eventually. I think he's one of the more sought after XM pieces, just because it's so well done. I mean, and there's not that many Ghost Rider statues out there in quarter scale. This is the best in my opinion. So I don't know. I might end up selling this one eventually. And over here we've got some of the older Sideshow 1/5 scale comiquettes. Here's Rogue in one of her earlier uniforms. This is the Mark Brooks version. I think Mark Brooks did this one. And here you got Archangel. Angel/Archangel, because you can get a head sculpt where he's got the non-blue skin. I love the wingspan. They did a great job on the wings in this one. And it's only 1/5 scale, but it takes up the whole top shelf here. And then over here you got the Psylocke 1/5 scale Comiket, which to me, this is the best head sculpt on Psylocke, any statue, any size. If they had made a statue in quarter scale like with this similar type of head sculpt, it would be a grail, at least for me. I mean, it's so sexy. She must be freezing her ass off, like sitting in that snow, but she's so hot she just melts it probably. Alright, and then down here we've got Deadpool's. This is Deadpool in his classic uniform. The chicken, I love that. The dynamite up its butt. Can I get it? Maybe let's see it from here. There you go. You had to see the dynamite up at the chicken's butt. This is Sideshow's offering. This is a custom head sculpt that I got from Francois, the unmasked version. There is a masked version that looks like this. This is the X-Force version, which comes with a couple swords instead of the guns and the chicken. But same pose for almost. I think the pose is slightly different. Definitely the head sculpt's very similar, just painted differently. And over here is another. This is Mystique. This is the only Mystique statue I've got, which is her classic version from Sideshow. This is the 1/5 scale Comiket. It's actually, this one is oversized. This one is closer to quarter scale. Not quite, but she works well with quarter scale statues. So, I mean, until someone makes a proper sized, true quarter scale Mystique statue, this is the one that's going to be in my collection. Because I didn't like the Sideshow version either. But they came out with their newer version. It was in her classic uniform like this, but the paints, I thought the blue was a little too light. The hair was a little too red. It was more cartoony to me. I prefer a little bit more realism. All right, down here we've got some of these are tweeter heads, 1/6 scale pieces. Is Joker, which is probably the best piece in the line. This, I think, the start of the line. I've since stopped just because I got less and less impressed with tweeter head, and they've been having some issues with their quality. But they are, I will say that they are responding to people's concerns, and they're addressing them. Here's Harley. This piece, there's no issues with it. She pairs well with Joker. Here's the piece that had quality issues, is Superman. And as you can see, they're replacing it because this Superman, the cape, is not pinned down to the way it should be. It actually, the way it's keyed into his back, there's some slop that allows the cape to flip backwards and kind of rise up like that. So they actually remaking a whole batch of statues. So good on them for that. I don't know with the COVID situation when it's going to come out, but I think it's supposed to come out later this year. Here's a Wonder Woman statue, which there was some scuttlebutt over her, I think the neck seam, which you probably can't see from here. But you'd have to, even if you had it displayed up high, you'd have to be looking under her chin to see it. And just the rest of the piece, I think, looks really well done. I like the bullets that she's reflecting off of her bracelets. And over here, this statue actually came out really nice. Martian Manhunter. It's probably the best Martian Manhunter statue I've seen. So that was well done on them for that. Okay, and up here we have Kotobukiya's 1/5 scale DC pieces. Is the Batman. Here's the Wonder Woman. There's Superman. Which you get that Jim Lee inspired look. I think it's one of the better Superman head sculpts out there too. You get the Flash. And Green Lantern. I'm wearing the Blue Beetle statue. I think one of my nieces got me as a joke gift. And down here we have some Bowens, 1/6 scale pieces, statues. Is Havoc, my favorite X-Man, with his first appearance behind him, or his first appearance as Havoc at least. I do have his first appearance as Alex Summers too. These are what, 10, 15 years old easily, and they still hold up. I still think it's one of the best Havocs out there. I know there's all these people talking about doing a custom quarter scale one, but I'll believe it when I see it. People say they're gonna do a lot of shit and never deliver, so I'll wait until there's actually a statue to buy before getting too excited and putting any money down on a custom statue. And here is his brother Scott, Cyclops. There's Wolverine. This is the Sosa version. I think this is the only Wolverine I have in his brown and yellow suit. Here's Psylocke in X-Force colors. And her on again, off again boyfriend, Archangel, aka Warren Worthington III. I like the sculpt on this piece and the coloring, and I've actually seen some customs of him in his classic Archangel outfit rather than in his X-Force uniform, and very well done. Comes up nice. Down here we have the original trilogy of Avengers. Here's the Sideshow Iron Man comiquette. The Thor, which is probably the best quarter scale Thor statue out there. Love this piece. It is fabric, at least on the chest and his pants. But this cabinet's not in direct sunlight, so it's actually held up well. Hasn't really faded. At least not that I've noticed. I think if I do get that 1/3 scale from Legendary Beast, I'll be selling this one as well as the XM version. And I think this one's definitely holding up its value. And then over here you do have the XM version of Captain America. So I have 2 of these. I'll definitely be selling one of these. And last piece for DC, I think, is this is Batman that didn't fit in the cabinet. So I just have him outside the cabinet right now. Again, 2-year head piece. And then Bowen, the Captain Britain piece, which doesn't fit in the cabinet either. And then going up here, we have Scorpion by XM Studios. This piece is so well done. I mean, he's a B grade, maybe even a C grade character, but the way he's done it is very, very well done. The paints, the texturing, the fact that you can, all the swap outs, you can have display in this more classical version, which is what how I have him displayed, because that's how I know him. Or he's got a more modern costume that's got more armor on it. But this came out really well, and I think this and Storm are both some of the first statues that XM made to order. So the edition sizes on these are relatively small. I think they're like under 400 or thereabouts. So these are actually holding their value very well in the aftermarket. I think they're actually higher than retail. And over here I've got the Eric Sosa Spider-Man, Carnage, and Venom pieces. This Spider-Man piece is so cool. I wish this was a quarter scale Spider-Man, because I love that, the webbing effect. Flip. And he's trying to break up a fight between father and son, Venom and Carnage. I must say, when I was reading comics as a kid, Venom was always the bad guy trying to kill Spider-Man. And ever since I've come back to him, I've seen how they've made him into an anti-hero. But I guess he's kind of always been that way to me. I definitely like him a lot more now than I did back then. I liked the way he looked, but I didn't really care for the character as much. But due to Cates' writing and the general anti-hero approach angle they're taking with him, I find that kind of a character much more interesting to follow and relatable to rather than someone who's like a strict hero, because like I don't know too many people that are strict heroes in life. It's you're always a mix of both. Down here we got the Spider-Man quarter scale statues from Sideshow. Here's him in his classic uniform, the pumpkin bomb going off. Okay, open this up, see if I can get it back. There we go, that's better. And this is the exclusive portrait with him squinting in the webbing. Very dynamic pose. I mean, it's his hand is basically a metal rod in there that's supporting him. And then the Back in Black version, which is the same pose except for the arm is a little different. He's got the web shooter coming out at the top, which is more comic accurate. I know people didn't like the blue effect on it. They thought it looked a little too blue, but I actually kind of like it. I think it looks cool. It makes it look kind of shiny and wet in a way, and breaks up. If it was all black, I don't know how good it would look. Like here's Venom all black, and they had to do a matte finish to get the sculpt details to show. And they would have had to make this a matte finish. I think it maybe it would look better. And I think I've seen some custom paint jobs that have looked good, but for a standard paint job, I'm happy with it. And then the last of these pieces is Kotobukiya, the Danger Room series, his Cyclops. There's Christopher Reeve Superman from Sideshow. Some more random Bowens, Hawkeyes, classic, and new in his Cyclops in his X Factor uniform, which if I get closer, you can see the paint is actually cracking. If you can see it there. And the white, yeah, see? Which is weird. It wasn't like that when I got it, but I don't know if the primer wasn't well underneath or what. But it's not in the extreme temperature environment, so I'll have to look to get that fixed at some point. But unless you're up close, you don't notice it. Here's a Havoc bust by Bowen. That chest effect glows in the dark. Or it did. I don't know if the paint still works. Some Deadpools. I love that portrait. This is a Iron Studios 1/10 scale. And here was the Sideshow 1/6 scale figure, and then here's the Juggernaut, which is 1/6 scale, and he's huge at 1/6 scale. I love the Sideshow quarter scale statue of Juggernaut, the maquette, but number one, I don't have the money for that or the space. But I did like it. I thought it was so cool, and definitely the Kitty Pryde extra was so well done. I mean, hopefully eventually they make a full-size, full-bodied quarter scale Kitty Pryde statue, but that was a good primer at least. Okay, I'm gonna pause here. I got one more room to do, and then that should do it. Talk to you soon.